And now, our feature presentation.
Hello everyone, my name is Gabriel Hood, and welcome to another round of movie reviews. If you enjoyed my Drumline review, which I dedicated to my classmates Aaron Shelley and Essence Wilson, thank you. Now I am going to review The Fugitive. The Fugitive is a classic action thriller released in the summer of 1993 by Warner Brothers and based on a television series of the same name from the 1960s. It stars Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones in the lead roles. Harrison Ford plays Dr. Richard Kimball, a respected vascular surgeon in the city of Chicago who is framed for the murder of his wife, and after being convicted and sentenced to death, he escapes custody to clear his name, while Tommy Lee Jones plays Samuel Gerard, the U.S. Marshal assigned to capture him. However, their paths will run parallel as Kimball races against time to clear his name, and Gerard over time becomes less focused on capturing Kimball and gets entangled in the web of conspiracy. So let's analyze The Fugitive, shall we? It begins in the aftermath of Dr. Richard Kimball's wife's murder, and he's escorted by the police for questioning. And despite giving some detailed answers to the police, he's blamed for his wife's murder, and it doesn't help that there was no sign of forced entry, and whatever circumstantial evidence presented was used against him. Therefore, he was wrongfully convicted and sentenced to death. And on his way to prison, other prisoners cause a commotion on the bus, which gives way to Kimball escaping. And his escape is a very big deal because he was sentenced to death. And this is a fight not only to claim his innocence, but his life.
I didn't do this stuff. This is not me. I'm fighting for my life.
In the aftermath of Kimball's escape, U.S. Marshal Samuel Gerard and his people are sent to investigate. He deduces that Kimball escaped after interrogating the prison guard, and therefore begins a manhunt for him.
What I want out of each and every one of you is a hard target search of every gas station, residence, warehouse, farmhouse, hen house, outhouse, or doghouse in that area. Checkpoints go up to 15 miles. Your fugitive's name is Dr. Richard Kimball. Go get him.
Which leads to a first chase scene after Kimball changes his appearance. And during their first encounter, Kimball makes a dashing escape by jumping into a river. So after surviving his first encounter with Gerard, Kimball returns to Chicago and begins the mission to clear his name. However, Gerard still has his job to do, so he would not rest until Kimball was captured. Consequently, word of Kimball's return to Chicago gets out to the very police force that mishandled his case. Meanwhile, Kimball poses as a janitor at Cook County Hospital to obtain persons of interest with prosthetic arms, as the person responsible for murdering his wife is a one-armed man. One day during his quest, he fails to identify the person, and this leads to another chase between him and Gerard. Eventually, Kimball hits pay dirt when he discovers the name Frederick Sykes and pieces together that he's the person responsible for murdering his wife. To make matters worse, he discovers that a fellow colleague, Dr. Charles Nichols, orchestrated the whole thing because Kimball investigated a prescription drug called Provasic and found out that it was causing liver damage. So to tie loose ends, Dr. Nichols targeted Kimball, but for convenience, his wife was a contingency plan, and Kimball, of course, was framed and falsely convicted. And when Gerard finds out the truth, his focus changes from capturing the fugitive to coming to the rescue of an innocent man. So that evening, Kimball goes to confront Dr. Nichols, but not without getting into a fight with the one-armed man on a train. And then when he publicly confronts Nichols about the conspiracy, that leads to a fight as well that also finds the marshals catching up to Kimball. And Gerard personally tells Kimball that he knows he's innocent. And when Nichols tries to kill Gerard, Kimball finally takes him down, saving Gerard's life in the process, and then surrenders. And then Gerard drives him away after the fact to begin the steps of securing Kimball's freedom. Now it's time for my final thoughts on The Fugitive. It's one of the best action films of all time. It was critically acclaimed and grossed nearly $370 million against its budget of $44 million. It was even nominated for and won Oscars, particularly for Tommy Lee Jones' performance in the supporting role as Samuel Gerard. And it's not just an entertaining action adventure. The movie can also apply to real life conversations, particularly about the failures of the justice system. Because we know that miscarriages of justice disproportionately affect minorities, mainly black people. But as we see through Richard Kimball, despite being in a better position than those that didn't have his white privilege or couldn't afford representation in the court of law, the system failed him as well. So I rooted just as much for him to clear his name as I did for Tommy Lee Jones' character to figure out the truth. But my biggest sympathy goes out to the main character's wife, because she was victimized twice by being murdered and her husband being framed and falsely accused and convicted. From that perspective, you can say she's a casualty of patriarchy. And so was Richard Kimball. And that is why we say we must demand justice, proper justice for everyone. Those are my thoughts. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this review. Peace.